Author Robin Sloan wrote an TAP essay for the iPhone and iPad that you can download. And one of his messages is to look at your fish. Look at this fish. What do you see? Really look at it. If you look at it at first, you see a fish. If you spend time looking at it, you might see more. Scales, color, shape, texture. Keep that in mind when you're looking at an article. What do you see at first? An article that you have to get for your assignment. In this video, I'm going to show you how to really look at an article, and you're going to use something called the CRAPP test to look at it. So look at your fish, look at your article, and learn something about finding quality resources and information on the internet. For the first part of our CRAPP test, we want to look and see how current an article is. Remember, currency is the date in which the article was published. As you're looking at an article in the databases, you will be able to see the publication date right around the same information as the journal in which it's published, the authors, and the title. So I can see that this was published in February 2007. This is relatively recent, and that's a good thing. For this psych research, I want to have some recent information to support the research that I'm doing myself. But keep in mind that a recent date might not always be needed. For example, if you need to provide some sort of historic context to a given topic, then you might want to consider resources that are even 100 years old, if not more. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about currency. The next thing that we want to look at is reliability. To find out if a source is reliable or not, you have to do some digging. And in the databases, you can do this by really looking at the article itself. First, you want to look at the references list. You can do this by either downloading and scrolling all the way down to the bottom of a full text article and looking at the references, or in some databases, look for a link to the references and click on that. Check the reference list for the number of references and also for the source from which the references were written. So as I'm scrolling down this list, I can see they're from the Journal of Psychological Science, also from New York Psychology Press, Perception and Psychophysics. So all of these are either publications through the American Psychological Association or scholarly peer-reviewed journal collections. I know that off the top of my head because this is my field, but for you to figure that out, you can simply highlight the journal or publication title and then copy, paste it into a Google search, and get some information about that publication. It's a great way to find out if the resources are valid. If your article simply doesn't have any references, then it's not to be trusted, because why would you trust a written piece of material that's not relying on any other previously published facts? It's just basically somebody pulling something out of their head and writing it down and making it available to the world. Another place to check reliability is in the abstract itself or within the first paragraph or so of an article. You should be able to get the author's intent, their research process, and a quick summary of their findings. If you can't find that information, or if within that information they include information or references to a for-profit company, then that work might have some bias because it might be published in support of, I don't know, a certain pharmaceutical or some sort of other outside agency and their mission. So those are things to keep in mind when you're talking about reliability. Next, we want to look at the authority and accuracy. Authority and accuracy is determined by the quality of the authors. In a database, your authors will be clickable, they're linked, and they'll take you to other articles written by that same author. So it's a great way to quickly see if that author's been published before, and you'll also be able to see if they're published in scholarly peer-reviewed journals. You can do that by looking, and you should see the peer-reviewed journal in bold, or you can go over to the sides of the database and they should have a item called source type. And here you can see that scholarly journals is selected and that this particular author was published 19 times, which is a pretty good sign that this is a reputable person. Another thing you can do is copy and paste the author's name into a Google search and maybe add a few other keywords. Like, for example, we're looking at psychology. So I would copy this author's name, add the word psychology, and do a search to see what I can find about him. It's kind of fun. It's like a little background private investigator work that you're doing. When you're doing this on the web, you can do the same thing. Again, if you can't find any information about the person, then they're most likely not to be trusted. Lastly, we want to look at purpose and point of view. In purpose and point of view, you're looking at why the resource was created. Again, this is something that you should be able to find out either within the abstract or the first few paragraphs of an article. See if you can find any information about the intent of the article. In the abstract, this will either be stated within the first few sentences, and you can also get a good statement of their intent by the last sentence. When you're reading an article online, if you see ads surrounding that article or links out to other companies, then that purpose and point of view might have a marketing intent, so a profit-driven one. And it's not necessarily then the best resource to include in scholarly research. So those are the tips. Keep in mind you're looking to find your fish, you're looking to see the details and really find an article that is well written and relevant to your topic. If you have any questions or if you really are stuck on finding out if an article is worth using in your scholarly research, you can always stop by and chat with a librarian or message me within your course space.